Dead or alive, this statue was gonna arrive. Took so long that I thought I was gonna be dead by the time it did arrive. Today on the Extreme Channel, we are reviewing PCS's 1/3 scale Robocop statue. There is so much to unpack with this guy. So if you're following the channel, you know that I have a love-hate relationship with PCS. Sometimes I think they're absolutely amazing. They make intellectual properties and characters that nobody else does. And because of that, I have tons on order from them. Now, their customer service, their shipping needs to get their act together. Maybe they're growing too fast. Maybe that's what's going on. But I've had so many issues with them. Most recently was this $3,000 Turtles diorama. You can check out a couple different videos on it right here. Robocop fell into the same boat. I'm going to tell you about that in a moment. First of all, I love Robocop. I call it a guilty pleasure, if you will. I think that it's a cult favorite. If I'm being really careful on my words, because last time I didn't say Robocop was the greatest thing since sliced bread. People started crucifying me in the comments. So it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's not. But I love Robocop. Has a special place in my childhood, even my adulthood. Obviously loved Robocop 1. I enjoyed Robocop 2 as well. The remake was a little iffy. Robocop 3 was absolute trash. But Alex Murphy, Robocop, I'm going to put him right next to Prime 1 Studios' Terminator statues. And what's funny is I didn't really want to buy this Robocop statue despite owning 2 other ones in the past. The first was by Hot Toys. And I want to make sure to highlight this because there's some similarities. The second one was one I was actually scammed on. This one that actually came destroyed right here. Now, I didn't plan on buying him, but they revealed their Ed 209. This huge beast right here. So this is from PCS, the same company that made the Robocop here. So I bought that first, and then I was like, you know what? Got to have a Robocop to go next to him. And with that, there are tons of options for this Robocop we're going to talk about in the review today. But before we do, I want you to know about the awesome experience. So first of all, there are things about this statue I love and hate, and we're going to cover both of those. But I decided, you know what, they have this in stock, I'll go ahead and buy it. So I purchased it, and I got shipping very shortly after. It was on February 14th of 2025. And typically shipping will take 30 to 60 days. So I think after 90 days or so, I reached out to them, hey, what's going on? And they're like, yeah, that's not the right tracking number. Oh, they knew that, but didn't decide to tell me. Okay, can I have the right tracking number? Yeah, we'll get it to you. Month goes by. Can I have the right tracking number? Anyway, long story short, it took 5 months and 1 day. 5 months and 1 day for it to arrive. I'm just like, really? Now, the frustrating part about that is it's been in stock so long that other distributors, I bought it directly from PCS, started selling this for a significant discount. Now, I paid in full, 5 months prior to this, and was still waiting. And the distributors that were selling it at 20% off, they had it in stock. So I could have got it quicker, which, that's fine that I have to wait. It's annoying when you don't communicate that you're giving me false tracking numbers and they're not giving me real tracking numbers and don't know what's going on. But even more annoying is I could have gotten this sooner and paid a lot less. Because when we talk about 20% less on a statue like this, that's hundreds of dollars I could have saved by going through a distributor, which I assume that as a company, you lose money when distributors sell it because you have to sell to them for a lower price. Yeah, so I think they need to look at their business model. I love the people at PCS, but man, they have some significant business issues, which has me worried. And I straight out told them, I am no longer going to buy anything direct from you. I have a number of things on PO. In fact, the day I'm filming this, another PCS statue, direct from them that I ordered a while ago, is arriving. So I still have a number coming directly from them. But in the future, I think I'm going to have to go through distributors because I just don't trust them. Now, with that being said, the reason I have continued to buy from them is they make awesome stuff. My last PCS statue I got in was this Absolute Carnage, which they killed. They absolutely killed. So they're so inconsistent, but when they're consistent and they're good, damn, they're good. Were they good on this statue? Look at that segue. We're going to talk about it right now. And honestly, they were good, but they were bad. Again, inconsistency. But let's start with the concept. First, you have a conceptual, stylized base. So this is some type of weird platform. It says OCP on the top. I like it, actually. It's different. It kind of goes with the statue. It offers some various tones that help with the paint and sculpt we'll talk about. But there are some other options. We're going to talk to that. And he's standing there in a museum pose. You know, this is from Robocop 1, where the suit was very bulky, and I think they encompassed that. And when you see the close-ups with paint and sculpt, you're going to see it looks a little toyish, but it probably did in the movie too. And again, more on that to come. He's standing there, and you have a few different display options, but this is like one of his iconic poses where he's about to use his big-ass gun, which was one of the best parts of Robocop. I think this looks really great. It's a great still shot from the movie, and again, the other one is also kind of a still shot from the movie. I like the concept of this a lot. It's simple, but it speaks volumes, especially being 1/3 scale. I mean, it's a decent size. I like this. I'm a huge fan, honestly. When I saw it put together like this on the table and I left it for a day or two to think about it, and then I walked down here, I caught myself, you know, sneaking extra glimpses just because it is impressive. So I give the concept a 4 out of 5. I think it would be 5 out of 5 if it was more complex. But they did a nice job. Design, significance probably the wrong word. Opportunities. They had some big opportunities. Some of those were with the display options. Some are with the assembly. We'll talk about both right after the unboxing and assembly. Here it is. One very big, heavy box. And PCS did away with their art boxes a while ago, which I don't mind. The first layer was the base, or bases, spoiler alert. Second layer was the rest of the pieces. Very simple. So I'm excited this is 1/3 scale simply for the fact I have a like 1/3 scale horror and sci-fi wall. So the widest part of this base is about 16.5 inches. The deepest part is about 19, and then his gun is 32, a little bit over, and his head is about 29.5. I tell you that because you can switch out his gun. We'll talk about that. But yeah, 1/3 scale just looks great in my opinion. And again, this is so nostalgic for me, probably why I really like the concept. So, few assembly issues. Number one, and I don't want to shake it too much, the key for this is loose as hell. See that? Really loose, really scary. Now, they did give almost like felt paper or putty to help with that, but it's like, why didn't you just design it right? The second issue is this little hydraulic part on the back here. It won't fit in both the heel and the leg. I probably could try a hairdryer, but that's a little frustrating. So, not batting the greatest here, because again, it's not a very complex statue. You saw there wasn't a lot of pieces. Now, display options. They gave some cool ones, but they missed out completely. There's actually kind of 3 versions of this statue. The first one is a regular version, which I believe looks just like this. Then they have the deluxe version, which I have, which has a couple switch outs we're going to talk about. And then they have a Robocop 2 version. They call it Robocop 2, but it's not from Robocop 2. So that one is different right here. So the base is a little bit different, has some different colors on it. And then it has the big-ass gun that Clarence and the other people were using. That, instead of making a separate statue, that should have been a switch-out option here. Another switch-out option they missed out on completely was an unhelmeted version of Alex Murphy. I can't believe they didn't do that. Huge miss in my opinion. Something else they should have done, in my opinion, is made the chest battle-scarred, maybe a display option to switch out. So they made like 3 versions of this statue. You should have made one version with those different display options. And one of the reasons I say that is one of the display options they offered here is like WTF. And that is the base. It has two bases. Why? No idea. One is the one you've been looking at right here. Kind of a stylized OCP one. And then the other one is a street base with bullet shells on them. And we'll look at both of them closer, but why? Now, they did give two arm switch outs on this. So the first one is the one you've been looking at where he's holding the gun up in the air. And I really like this. Like I said, it's kind of an iconic Robocop pose or scene. But they also gave you another really iconic one where he's lowered the gun and he's about to shoot. Now, the problem is I love both of these. I think they look great. So, granted, if they did give me the option of the Robocop 2 big gun, it'd be a hard time to decide which one to have. But I think you missed out on the display options. Instead of giving me a second base, give us an unhelmeted version at a minimum. I would have taken that all day over a second base. So design, I got to say 2 out of 5. You missed some opportunities. It almost feels like it was a money grab on making different statues. Gave me an extra base I don't even need. Some design issues. Paint and sculpt, another inconsistent one. So you're going to see some crazy purple tones. Purple, he's purple. Look at it. So I kept alluding to interesting things on the paint, mostly on the armor. We'll get to that. The entire thing has a little bit of a plastic feel, and I think it's partially the materials, but it is partially the paint. But then again, remember when this movie was made in the late 80s, special effects weren't that high tech. The suit itself was incredibly uncomfortable. It was piecemealed together. But the paint isn't the cleanest I've seen. You can kind of see some bleed over, especially in the in-between parts where they have that circuitry. I think the colors are a nice choice. It gives it a nice highlight. And you're going to see when we talk about value, there's actually a third base for another statue similar to this. But we're going to look at the other base in a moment after we look at Robocop. But the biggest thing about Robocop is the purple. And I was really confused by this when I unboxed it. However, we're going to look at some photos. It's pretty damn accurate, which is surprising, especially under bright and certain lights. So if you don't have a ton of spotlight showing on it, it looks fine. Otherwise, there's just too much purple, although I believe it is screen accurate. This really reminds me of the Hot Toys one I used to have. It feels a little cheap. Again, I don't know if it's the paint or the armor. Or just screen accuracy, maybe. But not 100% on the sculpt or the paint. The one thing they did pretty decent was this portrait. I really like the paint on that. Almost looks like it could be silicone, but it's not. And of course, if that's the only skin showing, you want to make sure you have it right, and they did. But even the gun, a little bit of a plastic feel to it. I remember one time I had a pellet gun in the form of Robocop's gun. I probably still have it somewhere. But yeah, pretty disappointed overall in the paint and the sculpt. However, I can overlook a lot of those things, and I think you can overlook them too, because when we were looking at it on the table, it's damn impressive. I don't want to say the word presence. But yeah, this just looks mediocre, which is a shame because some of PCS's pieces are absolutely next level. But I think where I'm going to display this, I'm not going to be shining these huge bright spotlights or zooming in 1 inch away from it. And again, this may be screen accurate. However, other than licensing issues, I would have done a little bit better job taking away that plastic feel with the paint, a little more detail in the sculpt. So here's a look at the other base as well, which I don't plan to use. Again, parts of it look really good, but I think the paint job's a little bit of a miss. I think they did nice textures and cracking, but the bullets look kind of like they're melded into the ground, which doesn't make sense. And then too light of a blue. It's actually, in real life, it's more blue than it's coming across on camera. You have the understreet right there. It's not bad by any means, but it kind of follows the same disappointment paint job as the actual statue. All right, really tough for me. As I said, when we talked about it, it's like, does this look mediocre because the suit looked mediocre and they were trying to be screen accurate? I don't know. You know, the other thing you got to remember is licensing. Maybe whoever owns Robocop, I think it was Orion Pictures back at the time, They might have said, you have to make it like this. I don't know. But I feel like the paint and sculpt both deserve a 2 out of 5. It's less than I expected, regardless of whether it's screen accurate. And I think that's a stretch that, oh, we made it look worse because we wanted it to make screen accurate. I don't know. I mean, we've seen video game statues and cartoon statues of 8-bit characters that look amazing. Value, another tough one on this. So they made 275 of the deluxe here. The regular that didn't have the extra base and the arm switch out, I think they made 300. And then Robocop 2, they made something similar around those as well. So all in all, you're probably talking close to 700 to 800 of these different, very similar statues. And they retail for about $14.50 each, a little bit of variance in there. A lot of money. It's the going rate for a 1/3 scale statue. But the problem is that Robocop, I mean, it's the 80s. Some of us are old. There's not a lot of old collectors anymore, and I'm starting to get in that range right here. So a lot of people don't love this Robocop necessarily. I think the resale value on this is going to suck. I don't plan to sell it, especially after I get the Ed 209. By the way, if you want to see what he looks like in my collection and where he's going, check out the Extreme Channel social media, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Again, I'm going to have Ed 209 on one side, and then in 1/3 scale, and then 1/3 scale endoskeleton next to him, and then Arnold T800 next to him. Those are from Prime One Studio. I think it's going to look awesome. Anyway, getting off. So I think the value is also a 2 out of 5, unfortunately. I think if I tried to sell this tomorrow, actually I know I would lose money because distributors were selling them for 20% off. So with that, what's the rating on the statue? The X factor. I want to be very clear. I say this all the time. It's not cumulative. It doesn't say, okay, what's the average of the previous 4 scores? It's, do I like it overall? It's, how cool is it when you look at it? If you love Robocop and it's a guilty, again, I don't want to say it's a guilty pleasure because people told me it was critically acclaimed, so saying it's a guilty pleasure is wrong. I think the pose and the concept speak volumes, and good volumes at that. I know this is really hypocritical. I just said the paint and sculpt aren't the best. I said the value's not the best. I said the design's not the best, but I really like it. You can like shitty things. I mean, there's tons of ugly people with, significant others. So I give it a 4 out of 5. I am happy with it overall, which is nice. It feels good, especially knowing the pain that I had with it. But if you're a Robocop fan, it's definitely something to look into. So I would check it out. What do you guys think? Am I just crazy? Am I weird? For the record, I have another PCS statue, like I said, arriving today or tomorrow, and then another one arriving next week. So make sure to stay tuned for those, in my opinions. But I appreciate you guys watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Yes, we're still giving away $1,000 statues at every 5,000 subscriber milestone. You have to make sure you're subbed to the channel, you like the video, and then leave a comment. We're going to pick a random comment on a random video and give away those statues. In the meantime, check out some of these other videos and my social media. Talk to you soon. Take care.